Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for February 22nd, 2013. It's currently 8:43 a.m. And just to apologize ahead of time. As you can probably hear, I have a nice little cold. Pretty much comes to the season, right? Everyone gets a cold around this time of year as their weather pattern starts to change. And of course, I have a nice one. So, what are we dealing with for this morning? Well, you can see winds are relatively light and variable. As you head towards Connecticut and along the coast, you have winds from the north around 5 to 10 miles per hour. As you move further inland, the winds are more light and variable, ranging from the mid to upper teens over the northern interior, especially over some of the valleys, and then to the mid to upper 20s along the coast. For the most part, we're dealing with variable cloud cover here. No precipitation yet, but it looks like we're going to be dealing with a couple of rain and snow showers and even a little bit of ice as we move on through this evening. Now, when we take a look at the radar, here we have our precipitation approaching from the south and west. And notice again, when the loop restarts here, it's pretty solid moving through the Ohio River Valley, and then it collapses as it's moving towards the northern Mid-Atlantic. There's a reason for that. And by the way, this is why I'm not really expecting much in the way of ice accumulation for tonight for eastern Pennsylvania, despite the winter weather advisory in basically around Allentown off towards northwestern New Jersey. You could probably extend that off into Connecticut with the potential for a little bit of freezing drizzle. Now, obviously, you don't need much ice to produce some problems on the roadways this evening and overnight tonight, so use some caution. But I'm really looking at 500 of an inch of precipitation here. Not a major ice threat at all. There's something to keep an eye on when you're driving. Use some caution. Drive a little bit slower tonight. You don't want to run into any of those icy patches and get into an accident. Along the coast, just some showers, possibly mixed in with a snowflake here or there, but nothing significant can be expected with this type of setup. So why is this collapsing? Well, we can see that with the water vapor satellite picture. You see you have a strong upper level low here, you have a strong upper level low here, and so you have to have sinking air between them. Therefore, as this moisture is lifting into the northern Mid-Atlantic, it's being suppressed and therefore thus collapses. So we're really not expecting much in the way of precipitation here. This is not a major event. Now you can see all the disturbances here that's kind of pooling together with the subtropical jet stream, and they're going to shift towards the coast, but too late for the northern Mid-Atlantic to really get under the influence of a major winter storm, but earlier enough to produce periods of moderate to heavy rain. So when we take a look at the infrared satellite picture, which, oh, by the way, let me backtrack 1 second. You see this right here? This is our next storm to watch out for. This storm right here is why this whole pattern is shifted to the east right now. That's why this is moving off into the northern Atlantic, thus shifting to blocking further north, thus allowing this to lift up into the Great Lakes and then redevelop and shift the majority of its energy towards the New England coastal waters rather than the Mid-Atlantic coastal waters. So a little bit of domino effect here as to what's happening in the Pacific influences what's happening on the East Coast. So again, let's take a look at the infrared satellite picture. You can see the higher cloud tops warming here and the precipitation collapsing. Here's our primary, the main low pressure system. This is going to lift up into the Great Lakes. This low pressure system will not transfer its energy towards the coastal waters until tomorrow afternoon. By then, more than enough warm air is going to surge into the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area and even much of the interior to change this precipitation from any type of frozen mixed precipitation over to pure rain, and a heavy rainfall at that. The only exception is going to be northern Connecticut. I mean far northern Connecticut, north of Hartford. And we're looking at anywhere from 3 to 6 inches of snow. The rest of the northern interior, 1-2 inches, mostly 1 inch really. That's about it from this whole storm. Again, a little bit of sleet and freezing rain mixed in there at times. They too will change over to rain. Even portions of northern Connecticut will see periods of rain as well. And then we're going to see a change over to snow and then a few snow showers on Sunday as our temperatures start to fall back into the 30s, but not before warming up rather impressively. So here we have the latest European model guidance. Again, for this evening, here's our upper level low in the Atlantic. Here's our upper level low in the Great Lakes area. and you can see our ridge in between, and that's why the precipitation is approaching. Remember, this is a sign of sinking air. So as this precipitation is approaching, it's collapsing, it's weakening because the air is sinking, not rising. So as a result, you really don't see much in the way of precipitation here. This is not a major event for tonight. But again, use some caution. If you see any type of, you get into your car, you see some rain, you feel some rain, you feel a little bit of snow, drive a little bit slower. That's all. Use some caution, use some common sense. By the time we get into Saturday night, now our low pressure system is redeveloping off of the Delaware and southern New Jersey coast, but notice our upper level low is still focused over the Great Lakes. That means warm air at the mid levels is just surging from the Atlantic right into the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. That, of course, means warm air transport, and that's why temperatures even over the interior rise above freezing at 850 millibars, and that, of course, means rain. So the only exception here with the potential for snow is going to be extreme northern Connecticut and then New England. Why? Because by the time the storm gets to New England, look where the upper level low has shifted its focus. It's focused towards our coastal storm. This becomes a new primary low pressure system. So Saturday night into Sunday, you'll see that change in the storm structure where this low pressure system starts to take over. But we really don't get the influences of the cold air, let's say, rushing towards this low pressure system and the precipitation shield focusing with more snow over the land masses until we get to the point on Sunday morning and then through the day on Sunday. And where are those locations impacted? Well, that would be Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts, portions of Rhode Island, and extreme northern Connecticut. That's the 3 to 6 inches of snow for this weekend. But really, the rest of the northern mid-Atlantic, just pretty much plain rain, windy conditions, raw conditions. Not the best weekend, but certainly not a snowy weekend. That is for sure. For the rest of the week, we get a break on Monday with a high pressure system in between these two storms, 1 and 2. Here we go again. This is a Pacific storm that's heading in. Notice we have another Pacific storm on the way here. So you can see that we really can't get a pattern to lock in. We have a very progressive Pacific pattern, but a very blockish type Atlantic pattern. So what you end up with are these storms that track up into the Great Lakes and then finally redevelop towards the coast, but too late for the northern Atlantic. So again, by the time we get into Tuesday night, we start to see that shift towards the coast, but the primary low pressure system is still over the Great Lakes and upper Midwest. And this, of course, means very warm air being driven into the northern Atlantic and a very warm weather pattern. Now, for the northern interior this time, because this is all starting to evolve a little bit earlier, a little bit further south with this storm, portions of northern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey, and much of the Hudson River Valley in Connecticut has a much better shot of seeing snow or at least frozen precipitation with this event than with the current one for this upcoming weekend. So Tuesday night into Wednesday could be a rather snowy period for portions of northeastern Pennsylvania and much of the northern interior. Basically north, very much north of the Philadelphia metropolitan area and north of the New York City metropolitan area could experience some significant snowfall out of this event. And the reason why I say that is that this jet streak right here at 850 millibars is going to be transporting quite a bit of Atlantic moisture into the region, and that's going to lead to potential for a nice jet of moisture flying into the northern mid-Atlantic. So it looks like a very rainy night for portions of the coast and possibly a snowy night for Tuesday night into Wednesday during this time period. Moving on beyond this point, well, there's our new weather pattern starting to evolve. We start to get a block here, and what's should be interesting to keep an eye on Wednesday is that this storm's going to kind of cut off here, okay? You're going to have the polar jet stream here, subtropical jet stream here, and this whole pattern starts to cut off. And that leads to a very interesting storm starting to evolve along the coast on Thursday night. Okay, now the model guidance right now keeps us a little bit too far out. It only produces a few snow showers, but keep an eye on this storm because this low cuts off from the rest of the weather pattern. Now remember, all your Arctic air is trapped up in Canada. This is marginally cold air over here because we get a cutoff in the weather pattern from the polar/Arctic jet stream, which is up here, and the subtropical jet stream, which is rather amped up over here. So again, by the end of next week, this could be a very interesting storm to keep an eye on. Marginal cold air, but could be cold enough to produce some snowfall, even for the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan areas. And then this trough kind of lingers on towards the end of next weekend with, again, disturbances moving around, cold conditions, but not abnormally cold for this time of year. Because, again, all your Arctic air is trapped up where we want it to be in the Arctic. And we have marginally cold air over the United States. And then we start to see the beginning of the end of our winter weather pattern starting to show up. That is your forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. You can follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter and Facebook. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there.